Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. I was trying to keep my composure when I saw Yann doing the dance, and he's here posing. We're positive. I'm not sure I'm positive about a result today, but we're on the beach. We had
It's
a great result against Southampton. Yann and many others that went to the match have are probably in a pretty content state right now. There's a whole lot of teams competing for UEFA Champions League. Everton are not one of them. Newcastle are in, I think, fourth in arguably a driver's seat to punish us. Isak is starting for them, and we'll go into that in a minute. Jared Branthwaite is out with the hamstring injury, with Tarkovsky out as well. So we're going to have a bit of a makeshift backline, and we'll go over the starting lineups. But yeah, are you feeling as positive as me today, or do you feel, or do you actually feel positive about the likelihood of a
yeah.
result?
No, that's the thing. I still look hungover. Thanks, Peter. I'm just being au natural on a Sunday. And besides, my appearance is not done for you and your lascivious eyes. I'm not a piece of meat, Peter. No, I'm positive.
Don't look at me. Yeah,
I'm positive, right? Because I'm still riding. I decompressed over Goodison last week, and I've let it sink in, and it's been emotional, and we move forward. But also that relief of not having that last day nerves to know that, okay, relatively, there's narrow, there's fine margins across the board. Look at today. Look at the relegation. Look at the spots above relegation, and the Europa League bloody final being contested by two teams where they are. Look at Europe. But it's mathematically null and void, and we're 13th, and we've got it locked in. We've got the money, we've got everything. Is a result nice? Should you always aim to be the best? Nil satis nisi optimum? Yes, but does it remove the stress? Certainly for me. Oh Christ, I'm not there going, this could be it. It's like, is a club on life support? No. I'm positive.
You know who else is positive? This Follow Everton contributor, called Follow Everton. He's very excited to see that we're doing. There's a beta test on StreamYard
It's
now.
not me, and it's not Chris.
I wonder if his name rhymes with iron. Well,
You're still dropping me in it here. Yeah. Hello, everyone.
welcome
We
to
will
everyone.
get comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, if in case you guys don't know, this is Chris really putting a shift in for Everton from the other side of the globe. It's the last game that, you could be ironic, you could be sort of cynical and say it's irrelevant. Why are we even doing this? Let's just watch the football, have a lovely, put the barbecue on. Not a reference to you there, Chris, but have a lovely Sunday. But what's your day looking like at the moment?
Well, I fly back to site at about 5 a.m. It's about 10:30 in the evening here, so trying to do a little pre-match, go straight to bed, and see what the results lead to in the morning. I hope for the damage isn't too rough. It's basically where I'm at. So it's going to be a quick turnaround and going back to site. So
Can I just
yeah,
add
that's
something?
me. The Australian time zone difference, which is always a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I
It's not
think
specific to Australia. The time zone difference does apply across the globe.
yes, if you go east or west, I go backwards or forwards in time. I don't need a hot dub time machine. I don't need need to go back to the future, although I can if I head west. And they all right.
Look, just for people who wanted to. Well, oh my God, do I look like Dog the Bounty Hunter? I had people in the pub last night. I had my hair tied up.
Yeah.
Like tied up in a sort of up here. And I had literally half the fucking pub was just singing, like, I was like, I'm a blue, and they were saying like I'm the Viking Virgil van Dijk, and they were singing songs about me because it was like, stand at the side and do this and look that. I was like, I just want to drink. I just want to be just.
So, when we're talking about the Viking look, that basically you are representing the Vanguard, yeah? And speaking of Vanguard, do I want to talk about who's leading the line for Everton today?
You did.
You like that segue?
Yes. I did, and I was okay. Here we go. But you just had a ticker before, and I don't know where it's gone, and I can't get it here.
Which ticker do you want?
I don't know. So we've been asked for the team so it can scroll along here. Look, he's done it the middle of the night, and he's done it from the other. It's awesome.
So on the bottom is just the current table. I didn't do goal difference because that's just too much to read.
How dare you? How dare you, Chris? You've let us
But
down.
basically, the top, I think for Arsenal, as long as they don't get a walloping, they're basically guaranteed second place. United and Tottenham, it's so funny to see them down there, but it's one of those seasons where they don't even need to get 40 points to stay up. Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton, as we know, are pretty settled. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a dogfight today. Newcastle going to be in there. I think Villa, they aren't going to win it on goal difference, so they basically have to hope for a result against Chelsea, I believe, and Nottingham Forest are going to be Forest are versing Chelsea, I believe, and Villa are going to be playing a pretty cautious game as well. So it's going to be pretty cagey for a lot of teams today, I imagine, and it might be a matter of unfortunately not watching or keeping an eye on some other scores out of curiosity because I'm happy to see Everton involved.
That's why it's really interesting, Chris. Because you say that, and there are so many games where it's almost like this is nailed in, but it could create so many theatrical moments of in the Sky Sports Centre flipping back and forth between them all. Because ignoring like the certain ones that don't have a direct impact, but United are playing Villa, we're playing Newcastle, Forest are playing Chelsea, and Southampton are playing Arsenal. And there's obviously, there's other ones that can kind of possibly, I think. But the fact is, you're right. As long as Arsenal should get a win at Southampton, shouldn't they? They should.
Yeah. Well, they have a 12-point goal difference to Man City. So Man City would have to win by like 14 goals. Arsenal lose by 2. That's not going to happen. Arsenal.
Oh, you mean to flip it though? It's like 6. They've got to lose by 6 and then the other one win by 7 or something. Is that what you're saying?
There's a 12 goal difference between City and Arsenal right now.
Wow.
So realistically, that would be near impossible, right? So Arsenal are set second. City are likely to end up third. I think they're playing Fulham away. But basically, it's a dogfight for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th today. And Everton, they haven't taken out a weak squad. What's interesting, and I saw, who was it here? The Bramley Moore Blue, not Hill Dickinson Blue. So maybe you have to update your description there, mate. But anyway, we've got we don't have Abdoulaye Doucouré starting.
That's a bit cold because corporate musicians.
Hill Dickinson Blue just doesn't really have. It almost sounds like an artist, doesn't it? The Hill Dickinson
but to be fair, there must have been some clever thought because I to be fair, I had this conversation with people and I left away thinking about it, and it would have occurred to so many people eventually. That guy who came up with it was so, astute, great idea. But to call their new stadium, refer to it as a nickname as the Dixie, is just, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
The Dixie, you go in the Dixie. Yeah, are you seeing that? The Dixie, fucking.
The Dixie's way better.
It is. The Hill Dickinson, the Dixie. It's just bang on. It's perfect.
And then I don't know. You could call us the Dixie Deans if you really want to, just to shake it a bit up. But
do we? Probably should we get back to the match today? Is there a match?
Oh, absolutely. Before we go off the rails. So Pickford and goals, no shock there. Ashley Young, I think, deserves the right to have one final match, and he has been a good stalwart for the last couple of years. O'Brien and Keane, no shock there.
But also, I think it's worth mentioning. I don't, certain players that are young, that are obviously Patterson is now in a position where we might want to see him push forward, and you don't want to risk injuries from a Newcastle team. This is being the caveat that the Newcastle team they're gonna come hard today. They are gonna come at us like a freight train.
Yep. I wonder if they're going to be cagey. Are they? And the likes of Ashley Young. Oh, we'll talk about the pace of Newcastle here in a moment because that's going to come into this for sure. But Ashley Young at right back makes me a little nervous. Michael Keane makes me nervous as well. But let's be honest, who are we going to have outside of those two coming in? We have Nathan Patterson, and that's about it. Through the midfield, though, we have the common duo that we've had ever since the ACL injury to Oro Mangala with James Garner and Idrissa Gana Gay in the middle. Jack Harrison holding his place at right midfield, a bit of a head scratcher, honestly. Iliman and Jai,
Again,
forever in
who
the
else would
squad
you
at the
play at
moment.
right midfield and risk because Harrison's on a loan? And I mean, I'm not to be ruthless, but
Dwight
if
McNeil
Newcastle come in and
started at right midfield against Southampton and
yes, but
alternated
what
with
I'm going to
Njai, and
say
they
is
were effective.
I'm going to be a bit ruthless. I'm not saying I'd
Mhm.
want it to happen, but if Newcastle come in hard and say, "Oh, they've gone in a slide tackle and really get a bad injury," you kind of prefer it to Harrison than McNeil, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I guess. And then he'll send him to the US to get good medical when he goes to MLS. Yeah, it's certainly possible. But
Also, just to
Harrison,
let people
from a
know that these
defensive and
comments that you can
tracking standpoint, yeah.
people are
Go
saying the
ahead, Ian.
comments on the
Sorry.
screen. I do got to address this, right? We can see them. It's great. Everyone can see them. So if you do want to get on and comment and you can't necessarily do it and they're not coming up, get onto YouTube. That's what Ryan had tell me. I think I'm hearing that in my other earpiece right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knowing that they can come up on screen, if the swearing gets a little bit too egregious, of course, I may have to remove it since it's publicly visible. So just please keep be aware of that.
There is that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PG police over here. Anyway,
Look, I can't
from
help it. We're stuck between a rock and a Ryan and a hard place and a policy. Yeah.
And it looks like our fan channel leader is upset with the reality of where Liverpool's at. You know, we should just worry about Everton, but that's just me. So the other person who I guess I'm not surprised. Are you a little bit surprised we're not seeing DCL starting, or do you expect you'll just see him for 10 minutes at the end and that's the end of his Everton career?
I really, really don't know. And I don't think it's worth me because I still think it's very much up in the air what he's going to do. Look, we could let the guy go. When there's a need for bodies, right, which we clearly have across the board, we've got a threadbare minimum squad. And the things that David Moyes has said in the last few days indicates that when a player is in a position like that, when he's settled, when he's got a partner and a young family, and maybe he's thinking all these things, potentially, obviously, clearly there's been some element of being rattled. And what him and his family have faced is appalling. And I'm not going to speak about it because it should be obvious to human nature. It's appalling. And there's no excuse for it. And all I feel is shame and sadness to be associated with that. But the point being, if he's going to play, if he's going to look forward he could do anything. But from a business point of view, Everton are probably going to want to look to keep him on the books because it's not like you have to then go out and spend 10, 15, 20 million just to replace a person. So if he can accept the wages, but I also understand that if you're going to need to do that and you think long term and then you can talk about the options and on the book assets, if you can get a young player that's at that production level in terms of appearances, assists and goals that DCL used to be is that due to injury, fragility, mentality, or just selection or ability, then fine. Like let him go stay. I'm not going to be asked about it as long as we progress forward and make the right kind of moves that make sense on paper and on the pitch. That's it. I know I went on a bit there, but yeah.
All good. And I think honestly, we can talk more to the Dominic Calvert-Lewin future aspect, but I'm thinking hypothetically, this is his last match for Everton. You'd like to see him, maybe see him with 10 minutes. Beto, at least for right now, seems to be the future under David Moyes with Yusuf Chermiti in the wings. Broja probably goes back to Chelsea. And I imagine we won't see much of him today, but anything's possible. Also interesting to see Reece Welsh, who's a centre back who's really doesn't seem to be breaking, not pulling up any trees. He's the next one in line at the moment for Everton in a threadbare centre half system. So interesting to see that as well.
He's the next one in line to spend about 20 games on the bench, get an appearance, right? Not be played when we've had other players injured, and then we end up with no recognised person in that position. He'll come on, make a few decent contributions, then get loaned out and sold. Yay!
Yeah. What happened? Yes, if we can be pessimistic, if Keane pulls a hammy,
Yeah.
Who's going to centre
Oh,
back today?
Sammy!
It's him.
This is the cable guy all over again.
But I'm saying from a depth perspective, if anything happens, he's the next one in line. So
Yeah.
at least from a squad perspective, he's deemed the next most
Production
capable
line.
centre half.
Pipeline.
That's really what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So interesting, but that's also a concern as well. But let's go to the Newcastle side that's intending to cause damage and prove a point to stay in fourth, maybe even go up to third with goal difference. Alexander Isak didn't appear for their last match, but is back today. Imagine even if he had one leg to run, they'd bring him on because of the importance of getting a result today.
But that
Callum
looks
Wilson
that
hasn't had the impact that he has had previously.
that looks
So
that
Isak's
looks
back
like
in
a
starting.
very that's like that lineup shows intent from Newcastle, because
Yeah.
look at the players that what they're
Yeah.
producing, and the balls they bring in the box, the danger, the shots, where the goals come from across that team. It's quite, I'm not trying to be pessimistic or alarmist, but
hmm
they are where they are for a reason.
Yeah. And Tonali's been back and making a huge influence. Him and Bruno is, I suppose, a little bit different than what they had with Joel Linton. So it just, I suppose, a little bit different, more robust in there with Tonali. But Gordon, Barnes, and Murphy as a three behind Isak is going to be
Who's
difficult.
that? Who was the one that, I don't know if he's still at Newcastle or whether they got rid of him? Who was really short hair and he played out wide and he had a really, like, a young face, and he just had a really sort of,
Oh,
like,
Almiron.
yeah, Miguel Almiron.
I think they moved him on. He was really impactful for a bit, and I think they moved him to MLS or something. The
Ah,
Paraguayan.
yeah, I never begrudged him because just the attitude that he had to the game. But I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
maybe they, obviously clearly they've pushed on, and I just, that how would you feel about seeing him in an Everton shirt given the opportunity? I mean, I don't know how old he is. He always looked like he
I
was
mean,
14 to me.
yeah. So I think the challenge that you had with Almiron at a time he was scoring blinders, and then his off the ball movement was fantastic, but he was not
Yeah,
able to get the ball on the back of the net. And you know what? We had a Jesper Lindstrom that had moments like that throughout the season. So you want someone who's not replicating the problem that we've already had, even
but
if I
here's the
like
thing.
Almiron more broadly.
So with that in mind, with, like, obviously Gordon's going to be trying to pace it out. Do you think Young's going to have him in his pocket, or and Mick?
Uh, I think Ashley Young will have him in his pocket for 5 minutes, and I see a red card on the horizon.
But here's the thing: we've got Young and Patterson, no Coleman. Coleman is evidently, like, that's an injury, and it wasn't it wasn't a thing that he wasn't up to fitness and was brought off. Maybe it
Mhm.
was a gesture for the last game at home, that he wasn't up to
Yeah.
fitness and could run around for 15-20 minutes, but had to be brought off. Okay, but. Yeah, but if Coleman at fitness, even at the age he's at, he's got the experience to, and you'd wonder if Youngers would and does. But the only trouble is sometimes I can see why we're not renewing his contract, because
Mhm.
it's I'm not faulting the guy at all, but yeah, it's.
Yeah. So I'm seeing what's it, El Tel on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey. There's a lot of just uh, I'm seeing a lot of what maybe it's legitimate, but a lot of spam posts right now, just cheap clickbait trying to get people excited. So, and I think Ryan took the bait not that long ago. I forgot what article it was, but there's a lot of this kind of stuff going around. I
Mm.
saw something about from Alcaraz, certainly possible. I saw something coming out about 9 hours ago, but right now, unless it's coming officially from Everton, it's just I'm treating it as spam because there's that much going around. Um, I would I'd be very happy to see him next season. He's going to be
Mm.
starting for us today, and this is an opportunity for him, honestly,
Mm.
to say, okay, we have Abdoulaye Doucouré in this role a lot of the time because he's a large body. He can come into that third central
He's
midfield
got a wild
position.
card factor as well. There's an unpredictability about his movement, in every sense. His running and he just he causes a bit of a panic reaction in the defenders, and that's an element of his style of play, yeah. But that's also what I think Alcaraz's tenacity. This is what I hope, I could see you get into it, and it's so exciting that why I'm also positive, because it doesn't matter today, and that's liberating. But also, I think that gives the players hopefully the opportunity to go, you know what? Away days and how well we did for the last couple of seasons on away games, and what the team did for the away fans, and it's like, there's the freedom, there's the liberation, and also a little bit of a fuck you sticking it back to Gordon, to Newcastle for this and that, and for trying to manufacture a rivalry for the referee, all this kind of stuff. And it just makes you think that there's a couple of players here who just have almost got no reason to not just go, you know what? I'm going to upset the apple cart today. And yes, that's the Everton that I love.
So Michael Keane is going to upset the apple cart. He's going to just come flying in, 2-footed into Isak, and you go, where was this, Michael Keane? Rather than the Tottenham, here you go, handball.
But his finishes sometimes, his finishes, his occasional finishes over the years he's come up with some phenomenal,
he deserves a lot of credit when he's shown up against Fulham. He did what he needed to do. So we can get annoyed, but he does have Premier League quality attributes. It's just not always assured defensively when you want him to, and that's the risk. But I agree with Charlie. The one challenge, and this is where I was kind of bringing my point up, Doucouré, love him or hate him, when he drops in as a third central midfielder, he is able to intercept, win aerially, and he's a big body that'll shut down the running play just by his existence there. Charlie is going to have to take a note from Illiman and Jai's book on being a little bit smaller, doing the hard, dogged work, being part of that team, and then basically having to turn and go and start that counterattack when the possession is back in our hands. He's able to do that usually from corner kicks and the like from that left side running through when he's been in Njai's position. But in the number 10, how is he going to line up with Beto? I'm really excited to see it. But that's the challenge for Charlie. If he's going to be part of the Everton squad, knowing the way people have used Doucouré in this current Everton lineup, other than everyone goes and we get an entire new Everton squad and we play drastically different, Charlie's going to have to play defensive and compete with Bruno and Tonali and help James Garner and Idrissa Gana Gueye, largely getting overloaded through the middle with a very high energy squad in Newcastle. The deep bench
right,
as well.
And I think when you were talking about Alcaraz replacing the sort of Doucouré role, he's obviously going to, I think, have to do a different thing. You can't replicate another person, really, and I think that's going to rely on consistent motivation to keep closing Newcastle down, to not give them that freedom, which is going to feel rather fruitless when you're just running around and closing a man down and not actually intercepting, tackling, or getting the ball. So it can get, but yeah. Oh, Ryan is joining us.
If we have 10% possession, how does Charlie handle it? Because there will be times where I think we get absolutely dominated possession-wise, and then we have to hold on for counterattacks. Ryan wants the comments on, so if we do that, I'll take this off, and then Ryan can interject with comments here.
But the thing is, Tim Cahill didn't have a great technicality about him, in that he didn't have the technical footwork of PNR or Osborne, but he did have, as you say, that he does have a certain quality to him. That's not what you might call the Messi Ronaldo quality, but he's got his drive. He knows where the goal is. He wants the ball. He wants to be involved in play, and he's excited to play. It's like playing when you're back on the schoolyard, or just run, jumpers for goalposts, man, jumpers for goalposts. You know what I mean?
FIFA Street, mate. Let's go. I really enjoy seeing Alcaraz's enthusiasm and drive. There are just times, and it happens to a lot of the Everton players in the middle, when we get outclassed, outmuscled, and he's just passively there. And then the only time you get to see him is when he's late to a challenge to make a statement in the match. I just want to see Alcaraz taking it by the horns when he has the opportunity today, but it might be tough.
And then that playfulness, though, it just reminded me, complete completely random. Walked back from the pub last night, and on the grass outside was just like the football. And I'm a 37-year-old man, but there I am, not drunk, but just sort of ambling back from the pub at like 11:30 or something like that. Just I went out at, like, I don't know, and just hung out and spoke to some friends and stuff like that. And I dribbled this football back the entire way. And I'm sure I must have been spotted by people and cars and stuff, but I just didn't care. It was just like, la, 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 la. And I just acquired a football, left it on my front garden, just thought, if anyone sees it and wants it, who cares? But it's a decent, like, bloody leather Premier League football. It was just on the grass. It's a bit messed up. It was on the grass outside well outside the pub, like there. So I just walked it down the fucking road.
It wasn't like this, was it?
No.
All right, good. Well, how's the audio from Ryan? How you doing?
Hi. I was only jumping in to just say one thing about the lineups that you had on before.
Okay.
Which the way you presented them was good, but how we're going to get exposed today and probably lose 3 or 4-0 if you want to bring that back up.
Oh, wow. Okay. Ever the optimist.
We can repeat the pain of what I anticipate to be a brutal match today, Ryan.
Yeah. I've got a solution, but I'm not a tactical genius. But can we get that thing up from before where you can see both teams?
Oh yeah, we can do that. And let's see. Try that. And get rid of the comments because that's too many things. And get rid of that one. There we go.
Comments can stay, but yeah. So you did touch a bit on this, but if Newcastle play the 4-3-3, we're outnumbered in every single area of the pitch.
Or 3-4-3 even. Yeah.
3-4-3. We're outnumbered everywhere. So Dan Burn, Livramento, Anthony Gordon on the left, 3v2 situations against Harrison and Young, which means Garner gets dragged across, which means if Newcastle can switch the ball quickly off the wings back into the middle, it's just Garner Gay potentially trying to deal with Tonali and Guimaraes and it can be So it's a bit of a worry there.
You're gonna not need a lot of pace and stamina. Well, not pace, but stamina and consistency from Harrison and Garner and Ndai, and Alcaraz and Gay to basically keep switching from covering the player. So we're not leaving a huge gap in the middle, as you say, for Tonali.
Basically, that's a huge demand over 90 minutes as well.
Yeah,
just remember that we're going to be overloaded. It's going to be a lot for them. I can't expect them to keep up.
That's why Harrison's playing. The other thing is on the other side, you've got the same problem. So, you're potentially outnumbered unless Gay comes across.
Which begs the question of, look, if you can't send 10 men out onto the pitch to basically run themselves to death and lose the game, right? Because that's a lose-lose. So then the argument becomes, are we going to see a game where we're going to have 20% at most, possession, where we become almost a flat back and a row of 6 defenders? Sorry?
We're going there to counter. Let me just finish the earlier point. We're going there to counter-attack them because we've got the 3 fastest players we could possibly. We've got Alcaraz who can break through the lines and send Beto in behind. You've got your fastest players in the squad there. So it's clear to me we're going to go and defend, but then you've got 4 players there who are going to turn Newcastle over. I think what we need to do is suck Newcastle in, let them overcommit, let the crowd get frustrated, let some of the other results go against them. And then when Newcastle are overcommitting a lot of players forward, that's when our front 4 turn against Newcastle and cause them the problems, because we'll have a 4v3 there with Alcaraz and Ndai, Harrison, Beto versus their back 3. So I think it could be really effective for us on the counter-attack. But defensively, that's the problem. So the match winner here from Everton is there's 2. The first one is Carlos Alcaraz. If he plays well, Everton will do well today, because he's got to drop into that midfield space when Garner gets dragged across, and Ndai then has to tuck in. Gay has to go across. So basically, it becomes Garner going to the right, Alcaraz central midfield, and Guy going over, and Ndai coming in narrow. So it's about how we stop those overloads on each side. The second match winner is Michael Keane, because I think if you look at, it's just about him putting in a solid performance, because Jake O'Brien's going to get inevitably dragged across. And then Keane, if you saw him in some of the recent games, he's rubbish when the ball gets played across. He can't defend his box, the 6-yard box. He gets bullied. He can't handle movements. He can't handle pace. And the last match we played against Southampton, we nearly conceded, and he just stuck like a leg out and didn't get near it. So I think it's all about how trying. We don't want the centre backs getting dragged out of position. I think that's going to be a real problem. Don't drag them out. Alcaraz got to tuck in, and then let's see if we can turn Newcastle over on the counter attack.
I mean, lovely positivity, and yeah,
It was a mix. I'm giving you some positivity, but I'm also saying there's a risk of overexposure and.
Yeah, but we know. I mean, it becomes obvious when you can see that that's what Newcastle have done, and that's the style of their play. That they, while you know, they've almost become, well, to win matches and to be consistently successful, you have to play attacking football that's incisive, that panics the other team, and that's what they do, and they do that quite consistently across the pitch. So the issue is, how do we handle that? And yeah, so it's obvious that we're going to counterattack, but for me, the problem is not the Michael Keanes. For me, the issue is, it's how do we handle the pressure? As you say, he can't command his box, but we're going to have pressure under the box, and we're going to have consistency. It's not like they're going to play, you know, there's going to be interplay and there's suddenly an interception and it's this wonderful piece of footballing brilliance. There's going to be wing play, there's going to be trying to move us around and break us down, but we're going to be sitting back and defending. So then to do that, you know, it's how do they counter that? And the issue for me is going to be discipline and mentality today. Like, and yeah, of course we're going to counter attack, and I can see that, but I don't see it as being bash the Michael Keane or think about people's sort of. I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting wound up.
They're gonna try and pepper the goal.
Michael Keane's in trouble.
If you look at the team that they've put out, Newcastle, it's all about getting crosses into the box and getting in behind us.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. But, you know, I wasn't trying to argue with you. But, yeah, it's just a case of some. Who was it you said before? A red card for a blinder for. Yeah, we go. Rod Ross going out in a blaze of glory. Red card after a Gordon challenge or something. Yeah, it's. I can see stuff like that happening. And while Newcastle are playing good enough football that they don't have to resort to a lower standard of tactics, a la Manchester United against Spurs. You know, but anyway, we're fast approaching kickoff, aren't we?
I think so. And unfortunately, it sounds like it's probably my bedtime. I won't be able to watch it live, but I think it's going to be you, Yann, with Corey on post-match and potentially Ryan. So I think that'll be the team to join and hopefully a surprising result.
I'm just trying to create talking points so that we can dissect when one of us is going to be catastrophically wrong, you, me, or Ryan. So it could be, and it could go either way. And look, I will eat my pudding or whatever it is that I need to do.
We've got no pressure on us, so you know we play with freedom, and I think that will cause Newcastle some problems. The fact that we can just sit in, soak up some pressure, wait for Newcastle to get frustrated, and then run up and score at the other end. That's what I want to see, and there'll be players playing for contracts here. So
we can't let them score an easy goal in the first 10 minutes. That's like fundamental. Or this game's over.
We very much can, Chris. If you've been watching,
we can let them. If you would like more than 0 points, no. Yeah, because there've been a few times when Newcastle have just completely bullied teams when you play behind all the men behind. I think Ipswich went down to 10 men, and it was basically just a 90% possession fest. And they didn't get out of their half. And I could see Everton being in that case unless they use Njai, use Charlie, and time some runs with Beto on that left side.
Have we seen those two together away from home? I mean, I want to see us win a lot of fouls and just slow the game down and make it unbearable for them and frustrated to the point where they take unnecessary risks, leave gaps for us to expose them.
Yeah. Have I seen them together? probably for like 5 minutes late in the match when nothing was really working for us. I can't recall spending much time watching them together, but we'll see them today. All right. I think that's it for us. Before anything else you want to say? Any final predictions? I think somewhere between a 3-0 to 4-0 loss is my feeling, but look, anything can happen.
Somewhere between.
Okay, 3.5-0.
Okay. All right.
Happy?
I guess.
That's the over and under, isn't it? So
I know.
Over 3.5 goals.
Yes.
Would you rather Everton won or Liverpool lost?
Liverpool losing today would be better.
Would it?
I think so.
No, I don't care. They've already won. They can't win anymore.
We can't go anymore.
They can't be better winners than having won the league.
But wouldn't it be great?
So if
we can only be a
Miserable.
baker's dozen. 13th.
So
that's all we
I
got.
would rather we win. I really want us to win to fuck up, like to just have an influence and have an impact and be on match of the day first for a change.
I think
Even
I'd be
when-
happier.
Yeah, making the
with-
Geordies cry that they're not in fourth.
I think I'd be happier with Palace winning. I'm putting a real sour taste on it, and then tomorrow torrential rain in Liverpool, so that everyone gets soaked, and the parade would be
Ryan,
brilliant.
can't you just look?
Ryan's
I
a
don't
happy
care.
person today, isn't he?
Let people have a nice day. Like, all I am genuinely going to say, okay, fine, Ryan might disagree with it, but I've got my own voice. Genuinely, any Reds going out tomorrow, have a nice day. I mean it, because fuck it. Like, as long as you're not
Yeah, and may they let off blue flares by accident once more.
yes. Oh.